Hey friends, Jay Sennett. Welcome to another edition of Cooking with Jay. Hope all of you are doing well. Today I'm going to prepare for you a dish that I was first introduced to when I was a little boy. One of my Jewish friends used to invite me over to his house, and his grandmother would be making latkes, right? Little potato type pancake, flat potato type pancake things. And the latkes I never heard of until his family served them to me. And I fell in love with these things. I used to ask his grandmother if she could make some for me so I could take home. And I wanted my mother to learn how to make these. And so she gave her the recipe to make how she made her latkes. And there are different variations. You can get fancy with the latkes and make them with sweet potato and put some vegetables in there, you know, all kind of stuff. But this is more traditional. I use russet potato. They're high in starch, but they have a nice, dry texture. But you want to try to get the potatoes dry. So I grated the potatoes in here, like so, right? And again, you want to try to get them dry because they'll cook and get that crispy texture on the outside. And I grated up some yellow onion in here as well. Now, what I'm going to use instead of flour as a binder is matzo meal, right? I say, well, you're not making matzo balls. Why are you using matzo meal and, latkes? Well, you don't have to use flour. You can use matzo meal in just about anything as a binder. Where you would use flour, substitute matzo meal. Personally, I think matzo meal is a little bit better as a binder than flour. Okay, start with a couple of tablespoons of the matzo meal in here. I'm going to use 1 egg. Oh, there you go, 1 egg. I have some onion in here and the russet potato. I'm going to add a nice healthy dose of salt. Okay, then I'm going to add some black pepper and, for my taste, just a little bit of garlic powder. Okay, then I'm going to add just a pinch, maybe a 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder as a leavening agent in here. Now, you don't have to use that. They'll be flatter if you don't, but that's okay. And I want to mix these together. Now, you can determine the texture as you get into it, once you start mixing them together. So we have the potato, or the russet potato, grated up. I have the onion, the yellow onion mixed in as well. All right, a couple of tablespoons so far of the matzo meal. I have some salt and pepper and a little bit of garlic powder and just a small bit of baking powder. Okay, I'll get my saucepan over here, heating up a little bit because these are coming together nicely, I think. All right, I'm going to add just a pinch more of this matzo meal. Okay, great binder. Da-da. Yeah, my friend turned me on to these things. He said, my grandmother makes the best latkes. I'm like, latkes? What are latkes? Never heard of them before. And she would put these things together and they would be absolutely delicious. Delicious. Okay, so let's see. Now, I'm going to use my hand now, see if I can make some of these into a cake. See how they bind. They're a little wet, so I'm going to add a little bit more of the matzo meal. Okay. Again, you can adjust these as you go along and determine if they're a little too wet. Again, you want to try to get the potatoes as dry as possible. Okay, because that's going to help with the texture when you finally get them in the saucepan. Okay, get a nice crispy texture, golden texture on the outside. All right, let's see. Okay. All right. We'll come over here to the stove and I'll start putting them in the pan. Like so. Come on over to the stove and we'll get them cooking. Let's get one more in there. That should do it right there. Turn the fire up a little bit. Now, I just have olive oil in the pan, okay? And you want to cook them just for a couple of minutes on each side. They'll start getting nice golden, you want that nice golden light brown color on them. Don't get too dark on the outside. And they're kind of soft on in the middle, right? In the middle part of it. And I love the smell. Right now I can smell the onions coming through there, some of that garlic powder. You don't have to use the garlic powder, that's just my choice. You can also use substitute flour, of course, instead of matzo meal. And I've made them both ways with matzo meal and flour. Now, if you're familiar with latkes, do you serve them with sour cream or do you serve them with applesauce? Well, I'll tell you what I did. Very quickly, I put together a little bit of homemade applesauce. Oh, let me try this. Because I didn't have any applesauce, I made some very quickly with some Fuji apples, or Fiji apples, some cinnamon, some Saigon cinnamon, some brown sugar, right? And the apple, heated up and then blended it up. A little worried about this fella over here. All right, now I'm going to flip them over because they're probably, there we go. It's one. There we go, it's two. Oil down here. Three. A little bit more of this oil in here. All right. Four. You see that color? That beautiful color on these things. My mouth is watering because when I make these, it takes me back to a very good time in my childhood, right? What it reminds me of, I had such an extraordinary multi-ethnic, multi-diverse, multicultural group of friends, right? That, you know, we used to get together and share and do things, play music together, play sports, do all these things together. We never cooked. Cooking came years later, okay? But the seeds were planted back then. Watching my grandmother cook, watching my friends, their families cook their dishes, like learning about the Latkes, right? My Jewish friend and his grandmother. So you want to cook them probably 3 to 5 minutes on each side, and you don't want to overcook them, okay? But you do want that nice crispy light brown texture on the outside of them. And they're almost done, folks, almost. Just, I would say probably a minute longer. But you see that texture, and you can touch it too. I like touching my food too. It's okay to touch your food, particularly if you're the only one eating it. You know, you put your hands all over your food if you're the only one eating it, right? I wouldn't recommend doing that though if you're cooking for other people. But you know, I just have a thing with my food. I just love touching my food, you know. All right, let's see. Let me turn these back over. Look on this other side again. Yep, they're getting there. A little bit longer. And they'll start to firm up too. Okay. Again, when you're making these, you can, when you get your hands in it, get your hands in that bowl, right? You saw me use a spoon there while mixing together and everything, but eventually I started using my hands, and then you can really feel the texture, you know, if they're going to come together for you. Again, the tricky part, when you grate the potatoes, peel the russet potato, when you grate them, they're going to be juicy, right? You're going to have a lot of liquid in there. So you want to rinse them if you can. Well, rinse them, get some of that starch out of there, and try to dry them. Figure out a way how to dry. I just used a towel, paper towel, and just dried the grated potatoes. So you want to get them as dry as possible. And then you grate up an onion. Same thing with the onion. You don't want the onion too wet, so you can grate them together. And these are kind of thick, so let these cook a little bit longer. And so you want to get them kind of dry because that will help give you that crispy texture on the outside. Then once the potatoes and onions are dry, then you add an egg, then you add some of the matzo meal or flour, some salt and pepper. I use a little bit of garlic powder in mine, and a pinch of baking powder, act as a leavening agent. And you know, and see how they turn out. But right now they're looking fantastic. All right, I think I can live with these right now where they are. All right, look on the other side. Woo! Yeah. Perfecto. Okay, let's get them on a plate. Come over here and move my bowl out of the way. And I'll get some of my applesauce, move my spoon out of the way. And I'll get I just used two, put it on two of them, right? The applesauce. Now you can also use, of course, sour cream. Everybody loves, well, a lot of people like sour cream with their potatoes. Applesauce everywhere. All right. My latkes. Okay, that's what's happening tonight in this edition of Cooking with Jay. And wherever my dear Jewish friend is, from years ago, wherever you are, my man, thank you so much for turning me on to latkes. And I've been eating them ever since. So, hope you maybe gave you some ideas, inspired you to make some latkes. If you've never had them, try them. They're fairly simple to make, but delicious. They're perfect condiment with just about anything, you know, any kind of protein or just vegetables, roasted vegetables with these latkes. And you can have them for breakfast, you can have them for dinner. And again, I use matzo meal. Matzo usually served or made with bread. You know, there's a simplistic flat bread that the Jewish people use that eat mostly during Passover, their holiday, the Passover holiday. But you don't. It's not just relegated to matzo balls or the bread. You know, you can use it as a binder in just about anything you would use flour in. Really, try it. What do you have to lose, right? Just give it a shot. Thank you for watching, friends. I'm Jay Sennett. Another edition of Cooking with Jay from the Jazz Kitchen. Don't forget my Sennett in Session Jazz Show, WHRO VFM 89.5, Monday through Thursday nights, 9 to 1, Saturday mornings, 1 until 5, Sunday afternoons from 1 until 5, and I also host R&B Chronicles, Friday nights from 7 until 8, and Cooking with Jay Sunday nights starting at 6 on the WHRO Public Media Facebook page. Thank you for watching. I'm going to go eat some latkes and have a good time eating. Be safe, friends. We'll see you soon. Take care.